It's Wednesday, June 16, 2021. I want to start this video by saying this. All hell is coming. Hell is about to break loose. Watching these economic business shows today, watching a little bit of the Fed meeting today and Jerome Powell, all hell is about to break loose. They are going to lose control, and it is going to be every man, woman, and child for themselves. This is where this is all going. I want to go over a few articles. I want to share these articles with you. Made a few notes. Very, very disturbing time in history, no doubt about it. And things are only going to get worse. CNBC, the Federal Reserve now forecasts at least 2 rate hikes by the end of 2023. 13 members of the Federal Open Market Committee believe the Fed will increase rates in 2023. A majority believe that the central bank will increase rates twice that year. 7 of the 18 members see the Fed possibly increasing rates as early as 2022. What do you think? Do you think by next year, even sooner, could we see an increase in interest rates? Many people say it's impossible. The debt's too big. It will be an economic collapse guaranteed. Do they really care? Would they collapse it on purpose? Would they raise rates knowing that they would collapse it? Things are going to collapse anyways, rate increase or not, but this would certainly accelerate the collapse. And we're hearing so much from Janet Yellen to Jamie Dimon to the Federal Reserve that a rate increase or rate increases are coming. It's just a matter of when. The Fed also increased its inflation forecast for the year. And what's interesting here is the dollar surged, gold and silver hammered, Bitcoin really hammered. And you would think fundamentally that this would be the perfect environment for gold and silver to have a breakout day. But no. Again, we watch this manipulation, this control, this suppression of gold and silver, and even Bitcoin, any competition to the dollar. I believe that a lot of paper probably got poured on to the market today, a lot of paper gold and paper silver to suppress gold and silver. It's a buying opportunity. When you see this type of environment and this kind of inflation, this is nothing but positive for gold and silver. So they can continue to play the games, suppress, manipulate. We've got to play the game too. It's a great opportunity to add some more gold and more silver to the portfolio. Continue buying assets, ladies and gentlemen, because what we're seeing is an environment where if you don't hold it, you don't own it. And if you're not holding something real, when the rug is pulled out, you're going to have nothing. They are setting things up to pull this rug out. This is a house built on quicksand, and we're all going to wake up one day, and I truly believe that we're going to realize that all we have is what we can get to, what we are physically holding. The Fed is going to continue buying up $120 billion of debt per month, $40 billion of mortgage-backed securities, $80 billion in treasuries. Again, they're going to keep buying and buying and buying, and your purchasing power is going to continue to devalue. The only thing holding up these markets now is the Federal Reserve. This is a complete illusion, what is taking place. You must be holding real things. And as much as I don't really like cash, you got to be holding some cash, even though inflation is going to increase. I believe Jamie Dimon was right. And you look at Jamie Dimon and the massive amounts of gold and silver he has in those JP Morgan vaults. Gold, silver, and they're stockpiling cash. And that, to me, that's my blueprint right now. That's my strategy. Silver, gold, cash. And I'm gambling a little bit on mining stocks with money I can afford to lose. CNBC, Albertson's CEO says customers have so far been able to handle higher inflation. Isn't that wonderful? CEO Vivek San Karen said Albertsons is seeing higher levels of inflation. Well, who isn't? That said, it's happening in an environment where the consumer is really strong, he says. Now, I don't know. This guy probably lives in a multi-million-dollar house in a gated community, drives a Bentley worth millions upon millions of dollars. The consumer is really strong. Okay. Consumer is drowning in debt. 15 million people on the government dole. 80% of Americans living paycheck to paycheck. 42% of Americans don't even have $400 in savings in hard cash put away for an emergency, but the consumer is strong. The consumer has never been so weak. And if the consumer wasn't getting benefit checks, unemployment checks, and stimulus checks, the consumer would have already been blown off the face of the earth right now, and this economy would be gone. The consumer is only existing now because of the Fed pumping all this money into their bank accounts, just like the Fed pumping in all this money into these markets, the Fed buying up these markets. It's all fake. As a result, we haven't seen the consumer affected yet by the level of inflation. This is pure baloney. Take a look around. You've seen my videos. You've seen the vacant stores. You've seen the decimated cities, the decimated infrastructure. We look at, what are we looking at? $1.7 trillion of student loan debt, $1.3 trillion of auto debt. We look at 3 million people in mortgage forbearance, 12 million people in a rental moratorium, on average $6,000 behind on rent. $70 billion of rent is in arrears. And yet this guy is saying the consumer is strong. And people are saying, I'm watching these business channels in the morning, the consumer's never been stronger. Larry Kudlow came out yesterday and said the economy is booming. What is going on here? You know, these people get paid to be analysts and economists. These people have multiple degrees. These people have millions of people watching them, and they are so wrong. U.S. Food Bank lines re-emerge. This is on The Hedge. I was reading this earlier today. And in this article, I'm going to paraphrase, the economic crisis is far from over, it says, as we are about to see a resurgence of massive food bank lines this summer. They never went away. They're only going to get bigger. Why? Because the government subsidies, the benefits, the checks, the free money, it's all coming to an end. 24 states are set to end federal unemployment assistance before they're set to expire September 6th. Between June 19th and July 10th, 24 states end the $300 weekly benefits and other unemployment assistance. It's going to be big trouble. So the CEO of Albertsons, maybe he'll realize that people at this point will be struggling when the free money comes to an end. U.S. Census Bureau figures show 19.3 million adults experience food insecurity issues presently right here in the United States of America. Food banks around the country are well aware that millions of Americans are set to lose generous unemployment benefits. And the other option from there will be going to their $10 and $12 an hour jobs while they're paying $4, $5, $6 a gallon for gas, and as food prices soar. Teresa Shriver, an advocacy manager for the St. Louis Area Food Bank, she said, we are distributing about 1.5 million more meals each month than before the crisis. We hope it's not going to take 10 years to get our food insecurity rates down to pre-crisis levels, but this is the timeline we are looking at. 15 million Americans are in some form of government dole or government subsidy. What happens when you add the 12 plus million people who are looking at an eviction come this summer? When you add this to the equation, this gets very concerning. These numbers can get out of control. Here's another one on CNBC. The typical home price is up a record 13.2% compared to last year. This is according to Zillow. And my question is the average wage going up 13.2%? How is the average American going to buy a home? How is the average American going to afford rent? And as I said yesterday and many times in the past, we now know who's buying up all this real estate. We know what is propping up this real estate bubble. It's institutional money, and it should have never been allowed to happen. It should be illegal to have corporations, hedge funds, pension funds, and massive investment companies competing against the average American. This bubble continues to inflate, and this bubble continues to get more and more dangerous. CNBC, GM expects inflation, semiconductor shortage to add $3 billion in extra cost in second half. I don't know, maybe this will affect the strong consumer. You know, somebody wrote me the other day on an old video that I made, I don't know, about a year ago, when we saw the pile of cars at these rental car companies. I did videos on the piles of cars on the car lots, and this person said, JB, admit you were wrong, admit you were wrong. Now you can't even get a car. So it's amazing what a year does. We saw piles and piles of cars sitting. The rental car companies, piles of cars, couldn't get rid of them, decimated in their business, and now it's hard to get a car, right? But why is that? Why is that? Well, maybe it's because the government just handing out all this money, people being paid to stay at home and not work and make more money, in many cases, much more money to stay at home, not pay rent, not pay a mortgage. And now what do? They go and buy a car, they go and buy a big screen, they go and take a weekend trip to Vegas. So of course, people are gonna go shopping. Of course, we're gonna see this irresponsible behavior. People are gonna go out and buy cars. They're not paying rent, they're getting free money. If you're here in California and you're getting $450 or $500 a week in unemployment plus a $600 benefit check, and you're not paying rent, well, a lot of people went and bought cars. And this is all going to come full circle, and we are going to suffer the consequences for this shopping spree that America went on, because the money's running out, ladies and gentlemen. The car payments are going to come due. The rent payments are going to come due. The college tuition payments are going to come due. The mortgage payment's going to come due. And guess what? People aren't going to be able to pay it because that job that they thought they were going to go back to no longer exists, or they thought they would get a new job, but they're finding out that when you work in the service sector, the majority of jobs in America, you're going to earn $10 or $12 an hour. So good luck. So to that person who said, you know, admit you were wrong. No, I'm not going to admit I'm wrong, because you got a government now paying people to stay at home, and we allowed people not to pay rent with these moratoriums, and so they went out and bought cars. So I believe we'll come to a point again where cars are going to pile up, houses will pile up, because we're going to see people evicted. We're going to see people running out of money. We're going to see people with no jobs. We're going to see people with jobs today that won't have a job tomorrow. Wages are going down. Prices are going up. We're seeing stagflation taking place. And all of this is going to get much, much worse. But it is shocking to just see a year ago, roughly, the flood of cars sitting on the lots, and then all of a sudden this 180 because the government just said, stay at home, we're going to pay you, don't go to work, and we'll establish a moratorium so you won't even have to pay rent or a mortgage payment, so you can go out, go to Kohl's, go to Walmart, go buy a big screen TV, and go buy an automobile. So this is how they continue to prop everything up. And I'm telling you, they're only going to make this crash much worse. I want to end with this one right here on Kitco. Gold price plunges $40. We talked about that earlier. Silver got hammered. Bitcoin destroyed today. And Powell says lumber experience. Powell maintained inflation is transitory, meaning he's saying it's temporary. I think most of you would agree it's not temporary. In fact, it's going to get much worse, and it's going to last a lot longer than these people believe. Powell says he sees strong job creation going into the summer. Are you kidding me? Maybe if you're working at Burger King, McDonald's, or Starbucks, possibly. high inflation reading that we're seeing now will start to abate like the lumber experience. Wow, isn't that amazing? So it's just going to go away. As you know, we're seeing lumber prices coming down now, so prices of everything else will come down. You know, I didn't watch the meeting. I watched a little bit of the highlights. I read some of the highlights here, but you know, reading what I've read and seeing what I've saw today, China and Russia must be waiting in the wings as the US dollar is being destroyed. And I'm sure they probably backed up the trucks and bought massive amounts of physical gold and even physical silver. You know, to the people out there, I'm going to end with this. If you believe gold is a worthless, barbarous relic, please tell Jamie Dimon over at JP Morgan to open those vaults and empty all that gold and all that silver out. Empty it all out, give it to us. But that's never going to happen because people like Jamie Dimon and the central banks know that physical gold and physical silver is the real money. It's God's money, 5,000-year history. It's not going anywhere. Those vaults are filled to the gills with gold and silver. Jamie Dimon knows it. Ray Dalio knows it. Many of these multi-billionaires and all these central banks know the importance of having something real now. We are going to head into the worst economic depression in world history. And people like Jamie Dimon know it. And this is why his vaults are loaded with gold, with silver, why he's stockpiling cash. But he knows that the real money and the only true money is gold and is silver, and they are going to hedge their bets. This is their wealth protection. This is their insurance policy, and every one of you out there needs to be acting like your own central bank. You better have physical gold, physical silver. You better have some cash put away, an emergency fund, and you better get ready because this thing today, I'm telling you, something is very ominous, something is very wrong. Something just doesn't feel right, and it's felt like this for a long time, but it's getting worse. Like you can really feel that something big is coming, and it's not going to benefit most people. Make sure you're protecting yourself. God bless. Talk to all of you very soon.